Namaste and welcome to Organiser YouTube channel. These days there is a lot of talk about IKS, Indian Knowledge System. And many people are experimenting after the introduction of new national education policy in 2020 to bring some part of Indian knowledge tradition in the academia, in discussions, in seminars, workshops. And still there is a growing realization that we need something more to it. It is not sufficient. We are just trying to fit in some Indian intellectual traditions in the available Western framework. And therefore, many times we are not getting true Indian or Bharatiya perspective. So, what is that Bharatiya Jnana Parampara? And why and how it can be revitalized? There is a team that is there with us today from Anaadi Foundation. They are the ones who have created content right from the school level with Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. And they are not just creating the content, now they are building institutions also. They are teaching or training in IITs also to integrate the vast foundational knowledge of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara in the modern education system. So, to discuss about the idea behind Anaadi Foundation and the Gurukuls, we have with us two great practitioners of Bharatiya knowledge tradition, Adinarayanan ji and Smriti Rekha ji. Welcome to Organiser. And thank you for coming to our studios. And we also have with us our own Shantanu Gupta, who is a proud parent who believes in homeschooling and also building Gurukula as the institution. So he will be speaking to us as a parent. Why does he believe that this process is essential? So starting with you, Adinarayanan ji, what is the idea behind Anaadi Foundation and why this particular model of Gurukul where you are talking about sadhana and also in a way science? So what is the idea behind it?
When we look at Bharat is the Rishi Bhumi, is also Deva Bhumi, where knowledge has flowed from time immemorial. And this is very much recorded in our Itihasa Purana. This can be taken, assumed as valid. As Bharatiya, we can assume it as valid. Now, how do we translate that into the next generation? How do they look at all these as valid, own it up, and contribute as Bharatiya to the world? So that identity setting also means they need to gain Shraddha in the Rishi Parampara, in this Deva Bhumi, what Bharat represents. And that is not easy for a modern educated person or a modern educated child, which gets no systemic or educational input systematically delivered so that they can gain this vision and hence contribute to Bharat and contribute to the world as a Bharatiya. So how do we systematically proceed through this? So that's where, growing up in Bharat, growing up in a normal middle class family, going through the regular schooling system and college education. Post that college education, I went to US, studied there, And after that, I had a spiritual awakening. Guru Kripa, I had an experience of Samadhi. Then I realized I had no idea of what am I going through. And to protect that experience, I need to be able to convince others that this is a valid experience. This is not invalid. While this could be looked at from a different framework, it could be invalidated, or it could be seen as a pathological experience. So that's where I realized that a systematic introduction to Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, not just the cultural expression, not just going to temples, not just celebrating festivals, not just puja, dhyana, all those, which are there in homes already. But a systematic introduction becomes very, very important to protect the individual in terms of even the deeper Purushartha, where the realization was also in terms of in our universities or schooling systems, there is Artha and Kama, but Dharma and Moksha are not explicit. So those kinds of content have to be explicitly brought out to protect what is quintessentially Bharat, the land of the rishis. So this became the journey, and hence after marriage, when we came into academia, there we got practical exposure to thousands of students. We used to have an open door policy where students used to come from morning 4 to night 12. And various kinds of discussions. Through that, we got to understand that if this is not systematized, then in an ad hoc manner, a few students or children might discover it because of the family samskaras. But it's not systematically available to the larger population. Institutional. So that's why institutionalizing it becomes a very important endeavor. Now, higher education, some work is already going on. But if we look at Bharat's knowledge system, these are all at the higher education level. But at the school level, if we don't have a graded pathway to access it, then it becomes very challenging. Because it is just like suddenly jumping into MBBS education or engineering education without a K-12, kindergarten to 12th standard background. So this, when we realized it, we felt that we have to seriously look at the school level content. What can we do there? And that's where our educational background or the time that we spent in academia, that gave us a vision of how to systematically proceed with this. So that led to bringing out courses, workshops initially, teacher training initially, then later on also content creation, graded textbook creation, also stepping into a immersive context creation, because to discover the values and discover the high-end sciences mentioned in our texts, we also need a rich context by which they can realize these values. For example, a simple thing like value of sharing. If seva is not enabled in the environment, then how do we it becomes just bodhanai. So that is not sufficient. For example, Kumbh Mela offers us a platform where the children can do seva, annadanam, that dana, dharma, to inculcate that as a pratyaksha jnana, a context also becomes very important. That's when we felt that Gurukulam, that systematically connects them to the Rishi Parampara, becomes very, very important. Because otherwise, that Shraddha is theoretical, but it has to be grounded in terms of samskara abhyasa. Otherwise, the samskara is not built up. Intellectual part is just one part. There are other dimensions to building the samskara which will be stable and hence will lead to an expression of them as a Bharatiya in later lives. So this was the genesis, and hence when we called it Anaadi Foundation, it also comes from the north and the south tradition. In Sanskrit also, Anaadi is well known. In Bhagavad Gita, for example. In Tamil texts, for example, in Tirumandiram, which is a very famous text of Shaiva Siddhanta, which is one of the Pannir Tirumurai of Siddha Tirumular, who is also one of the Nayanmar. So he uses Anadi so many times in Tirumandiram. So Anadi, that way, is that which is beyond a typical beginning and end. Adi antathukku
It
apart.
also expresses the real idea behind Hindu Sanskriti, the idea of time, the concept of time, which is,
Yes.
Anadi.
Anadi.
It's
And that
which
is,
cannot be put in a linear form.
form.
Smriti ji, this your journey as Gurukula, the disciples must be calling you Maatrushree,
Yeah.
Ma.
Yes.
And what we see today in society, that women at many places find it very difficult. This following this knowledge tradition, Vedantic tradition, and still being Grastha, in Grasthashram. What was your thought process? How do you look at this entire experiment of Anaadi Foundation? And as a woman, how do you feel that you contribute or you make it complete, rather?
So when we look at the Bharatiya tradition, women have played a very crucial role at different points in time in history. So whether we take the Itihasa Purana, if we take the Mahabharata, for example, you have wonderful women in the Mahabharata who exhibited a lot of sense of agency even when they made decisions. So this idea that the ancient women is the oppressed sufferer looks very different when you actually go into the details of what is spoken about in the Itihasa Purana. You find them very strong, you find them, independent decision makers. I often narrate this story whenever people ask about women. In the Mahabharata, Draupadi is, of course, one of the strongest characters that we speak about. And there is a beautiful episode there where there is a samvada between Satyabhama and Draupadi in the Vanaparva. Satyabhama asks Draupadi, what mantram tantram you have put that always the Pandavas are very devoted to you? And Draupadi is the proud woman she is. She says, why do I need all this mantram tantram? The very way I live, they are devoted to me. And then she goes on to describe her schedule in terms of how she is the first one to wake up, the last one to go to bed. And she knows the names of all the attendants of the palace, their families.
How many people she actually handles? Actually, the greatest human resource manager in Mahabharata is actually Draupadi.
Correct. And then she also takes care of whenever the Pandava brothers goes on an expedition, the Snataka Brahmanas who accompany their attendants and all of that. And this does not come about by maintaining a attendance register, or a punching machine. That comes by a personal connect with each one of them to understand what they are going through. So that means women inherently had this cognitive capability to handle these complex information, knowledge, wisdom and all of that. At the same time, you also find Arundhati Ma. In different points in the Puranas, whenever there is a juncture where there is a confusion or should I do it this way or that way, she steps in and then resolves this for women. And then in history, we have had Ahilya Bai Holkarji, who established, we are all benefactors of the temples that she has, revived for all of us. So that way we see, even in modern times, we do find women-led institutions.
And that also a lady coming from the so-called OBC caste,
Yeah,
a widow.
Exactly.
And she's the instrumental in reviving all these temples from Kashi to Srishaila.
Yeah, and so many kshetrams, annakshetrams and chatrams and all of that. So that way, if we have to have role models, we have those thousands of role models. But of course, in the modern context, for the modern historian, it's a bit uncomfortable topic because that would mean that Vedic women were powerful and that doesn't fit into the narrative of modern. It's always like shelved kind of a thing. It's hidden from the public eye, we can say. So that way, when we talk about Anaadi Foundation, both of us, we often joke whenever they see him, they say, oh, you have a very supportive wife. Then we say we are not supportive of each other, but we are those partners in crime that way. So that way, an equal role. In Tamil Nadu, when people come, they ask us, Is it Madurai or is it Chidambaram? Meaning, is it the man who is ruling the house or is it the woman who is ruling? So we say Tiruchengodu. Tiruchengodu is where Ardhanarishwara resides. So that way it is equal role. One takes care of the sadhana, one takes care of on the ground management of various dimensions. And that also becomes a role model for other women who are part of the foundation, other women students who are part of the Gurukula, that you don't need to stick to one dimension of life. And as you see in the case, nobody is restricted to the kitchen. And even if you're restricted to the kitchen, there's so much you can do with respect to that, because that's the where the Anna comes from. So that way it has been so far a very fulfilling journey. And the lot of these knowledge systems are brought forth to the children in diverse modes and methods, which makes it very relatable for the children as well. And they also grow up to respect both the genders and all the bhutas for that matter.
What is the structure that you follow in your Gurukulam that makes it different? How?
So when we say structure,
because no, unfortunately, we are trained now to think structurally.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not.
Yes. So let me bring out the inner structure and the outer structure. Because when we say structure, many people are oriented towards the physical infrastructure. For example, that's how many people evaluate an educational
Institution.
system.
And also, like, what do they teach? What is their schedule? Mapping to a modern school. They go to 9 o'clock, they go to a school, or 8 o'clock, and they come at 3, they study this 5-6
And
subjects.
45 minutes.
And after a 45-minute session, and after 12, they do some 3, 4, 5 entrance exams. They go to those streams, and that's how the life proceed, right?
Yes.
Versus a
Gurukulam.
And also you may want to add, what are the other kind of Gurukulas we have otherwise in India? India has Gurukulas, right? From north to south. What are those Gurukulas? Are you one of them? Are you different? So yeah, they'll help me also personally.
Yes, definitely. So this way, if we look at a structure, what are the philosophical foundations or the drishti that govern these structures? That's very useful to keep it at front. So that's how we look at that, and then set up all the processes or all the supporting structures to achieve that, that drishti. So one of the core drishti is the purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So any jivatma that embodies themselves in the bhuloka, satisfaction of the purushartha is considered very central. So otherwise there is no reason to visit bhuloka. So, for example, Bhagavan Krishna came for Dharma Rakshana. Bhagavan Ram came for Dharma Rakshana. Like that, it's very explicitly mentioned in our Shastra. So, that means the idea of Purushartha is central for the Jivatma to attain to fulfillment. So, that is at the core, while, this is very important because this is contrasting to our experience of regular university education or school education, where what is the scope, nature and scope of education is not in terms of Purushartha explicitly. That's why this is explicitly stated. Certain things have to be explicitly stated because otherwise it's not clear. Why go to school? If we ask most people, they will say job.
Yeah.
But actually general education, school level education is general education which is focused on values. Professional education is focused on job, not school education. But now at school level itself, there is a prevalent confusion as to why go to school. It is for values. That is the common general education that everyone needs. Professional education focuses on one specific skill set that leads to a job. So this kind of a confusion occurs because the educational philosophy is not clear, explicitly clear. That's why Purushartha becomes the central core, where the Jivatma has access to fulfilling all the Purushartha. And that is the basis of education or basis of knowledge. And then another core becomes the discovery of knowledge. There we look at the pramana. So the structure would be to establish the pramana where there is pratyaksha, upamana, anumana, agama or shabda pramana. These are non-trivial to accomplish. For example, something is mentioned in the agama. How does a child realize it as a pratyaksha anubhava? For that, a complex context has to be set where all the, let's say, stakeholders or all the, bhagyadaris as well as, those who serve the system have to keep this in mind while working towards the structure or the process or the curriculum. Because it's a process of discovery where they can access the agama and hence gain shraddha in the rishi parampara. So that shraddha has to be established through this process. That is a very core part of the design of the Gurukula process itself. Because the Guru represents the parampara. It's more the parampara. It's like rishi parampara, siddha parampara. And hence those vakyas, if the child who is introduced to that parampara has to access, then from agama, they need to be brought to pratyaksha, which is very, very tough if we actually look at it, which is not so very easy to connect to. So the context and the design of the process will embody this principle. The third core aspect is the panchakoshiya vikas. So all-round development, which is very critical. Now, if we look at holistic development, we look at the metrics that we use to measure that progress. Now, worldwide metrics are in terms of transcripts or progress report, which include subjects and marks.
That's all.
Is this indicative of actual expectations of parents or the society? What do the parents want their child to have? They want good health. They want them to be happy. They want them to have good value system, personal values, social values, family values, good value system. They want them to have good knowledge. They want them to also, have good, competence, skills, and all of that, which will make them successful. Now, this is the expectation, and hence there needs to be a metric that, measures whether, how much they are moving towards these expectations, these expectation fulfillment. And the metric available worldwide is only the transcript or the mark sheet, which is not indicative of actual progress that is happening. So there is a gap. That's why Panchakoshiya Vikas, as mentioned in the NEP, Panchakoshiya Vikas becomes a very important measurable, scheme where Annamaya Kosha represents health. Where are they growing healthy because of education, not in spite of education. Physical aspect. Energy, vitality, prana. Are they, because low prana also means, they are indifferent, depressive. They don't have the energy to contribute. So, pranamaya kosha. Are they having vikas in prana? Manomaya kosha, love, care, compassion, service, seva bhava. All that, how are they developing through the education, not in spite of the education. Vijnanamaya kosha. Jnana is very important. Even scientific development is important. All kinds of sciences, knowledge, subjects, those also are very important. Anandamaya kosha. In spite of all this, are they realizing their Ananda Swarupa? It's not just to do with activities. So, these three form the pillars which govern the structure and the process flow at the Gurukulam. That's why it is a contrast to regular schooling, where the regular schooling is, let's say, it's not so very clearly defined. Or it is defined as per global standards, which are not reflective of our tradition. It need not be. And where some sort of vagueness also, when they say values are important, different people hold on to different values. So it is not very clear. While here the Paddhati is very clear. So based on these, the internal structure and the external structure. So the internal structure would be pathways of knowledge, which stabilizes all of these. Where it points always refers to these. For example, a mathematics subject teacher, are they teaching mathematics for what purpose? It is for Panchakoshiya Vikas. Like that, these provide the process flow, the structural components, the inner structure with the curriculum. The external structure will reflect, connect with nature, for example. When we say nature, the Pancha Mahabhuta. And that also will help them. It's like, for example, Bhagavan Sri Ram went to the Gurukulam. Bhagavan Krishna also went to a Gurukulam. And Gurukulam is a, let's say, can be a sparse space where certain values like Atmanirbharta are kept at the fore. It's not poverty. it is a process of achieving self-reliance as a value which later on they can contribute in whatever role they play in society. So such is the inner structural component that we hold at the core, which gives us flexibility and freedom with respect to the outer structures that we
How many students are there in your what you call as the Dharma or Swadharma Gurukul?
So we have three, structures. The Bala Gurukulam is like a preschool thing for 2.5 to 6 years of age, where a completely Bharatiya Paddhati is followed. Of course, Angla Bhasha is also included, but nevertheless, otherwise we say the London Bridge keeps, falling, or Humpty Dumpty is also falling. So we've included a lot of Sanskrit.
Rain, go away.
Rain, go away. Yeah. Baba Black Sheep and Ringa Ringa Roses. And we've all sung that without understanding the deeper meanings of those. Now when we reflect on it, each one has a own story behind it, which now we don't want to sing those
and
things.
it's a dark narrative.
Yeah.
It is not worth repeating to all our children and spreading.
And hence the curriculum is full of, say, Sanskrit shlokas, rhymes, including the Matrubhasha and all of that. Then we have Swadharma Gurukulam, which is for 6 years upwards, which is non-residential, primary school level thing. Again, the Bharatiya Paddhati is followed there. And we have the Dharma Gurukulam, which is the residential Gurukulam. And we also have a Veda Patashala in Prayagraj. So overall, about 120 to 150 students will be part of these systems. And when we look at history, of course, Professor Dharampal's work on the beautiful tree is such a monumental work in terms of understanding how the education system was before. So residential Gurukulas were there, no doubt, but there were also other systems where you could learn from home, one could learn from a Patashala, one could learn from a community-led center or just beneath the tree. All of this was there. So that way, throughout Bharat and even outside Bharat, in fact, we were there in the Ujjain Gurukula Sammelanam. About 900 Gurukulas had come from different parts of the world as well, of course, largely in Bharat. So there are different ways by which the Gurukulas, the word Gurukula itself is interpreted and offered. So some could be Kala Gurukulams, some could be Veda Patashalas, some could be based on some of the skills, whatever it is.
What we call the skills related to becoming artisans.
Hastakala related things like that. So like this, there are a lot of these Gurukulas. So one of the key focus areas at our Gurukula is what we call as IKS STEM, which is called Indian Knowledge Systems, Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics. Just like a modern child in a school goes through language, mathematics, science and social science, the children at our Gurukulam study the Bharatiya equivalents of these sciences. So for Bhasha, of course, we have Sanskritam, Matrubhasha and English. For mathematics, we have a completely structured curriculum where we have Bharatiya Ganita taking from Indian mathematical texts. And for the sciences, we have the Indian sciences where we draw from Ayurveda, we draw from astronomy like Aryabhatiya and other texts. And for social sciences, initially we start with the Itihasa Purana, then we bring the Bharatiya knowledge systems, Bharatiya social sciences. And we call this, since both of us have a technology background, we call this the full stack Bharatiya Drishti, where we have an outward product, could be an Ayurvedic Kashayam, but then there is an underlying science to it. Underlying the Ayurvedic science is the philosophy of it, which draws from Nyaya Vaisheshika. Underlying that, there is also a theology, which is the Vedas basically, and the Upasana component. So from the sadhana to the technology, the entire stack is covered through the Paddhati. And at different points in time, we have experts visiting so that we are not an isolated system. So children get enough exposure to interact with the outer world. If we take an example of, say, mathematics. So all of the knowledge system, the beauty of IKS is that most of the knowledge system is represented in the form of poetic verses. So you can basically sing science. Okay, you can compose a song.
You can dance it.
You can dance also. Absolutely.
In fact, prose and novels were never Indian concept. They are very
Yeah.
Eurocentric concept. We adapted it very beautifully. That's a different thing. But
Because nobody will realize today that you will write something like Ramayana and Mahabharata in a poetic meter.
Absolutely.
Today's context. Nobody will even dare to do such a massive
Correct.
poem. Poems are like 2 pages, 3 pages
Yeah,
in
yeah.
today's context. So,
Exactly.
someone
Hundreds
you
of
have to tell
thousands of
someone that it's
verses.
a poetic text
Poetic
of this
text.
volume.
Yeah.
And the best part about the Gurukulam, since you introduced the idea of poem, one of the children came to me. He said, I was traveling outside when I came back to the Gurukulam. He said, from tomorrow to Ramanavami, there are 108 days. I want to take up a vrata without,
A child is saying this.
a child who is just in 10th standard or so. And he's saying that I wish to compose some shlokas like Sri Valmiki Maharishi on Sri Rama. That is the sankalpa that I have for these 108 days. Please bless me. So this is the level of empowerment or freedom that a teenage child who is in 10th, 11th standard can get when they get connected to the Bharatiya Drishti. So Bharatiya Drishti empowers the child to be a genius, not just a cog in the wheel, or not just an industrialized, automated system. Not just that drishti. It empowers
manifestation
of the divine within. Yeah, the divine expression, so that the child gets empowered to think like a rishi.
Like what Swami Vivekananda said. That it's a true representation, and I'm very sure that in many Gurukulas this is happening because of the what you can say, the unstructured structure that is given. The structure is in the mind of the administrator and the acharya and all that. For the child, it is all about the freedom that is given, the space that is given.
The basic the swatva, the personality, and
Absolutely.
the capabilities and the inclination. So all those things are taken into
Correct.
consideration.
The Prakriti, for example, Ayurvedic Prakriti is also looked at.
Yes.
The Triguna personality is also looked at. And all of these basically help us for the child to understand their swabhava and eventually chart out a swadharma. Initially, it will be just an evolving thing.
It is like in the modern sense, if you were to draw a parallel, though it's not a direct parallel, in AI, there is this term called grokking. If you use X, there'll be this grok. That comes from grokking. So grokking, very interestingly, when the AI model was being developed, the engineers were feeding data. But when they were quizzing the system, it was giving not so coherent response. So they were frustrated. Then much later, when they just left it on its own, much later when they came back, it had hit upon generative intelligence, coherent intelligence. So this is called grokking.
The data was processed,
well digested,
and intelligence was emerging out of
it. So that's how the Gurukula process we see as emerging that intelligence, awakening that intelligence in each child, which the modern educational process is not even targeting. While a Gurukula process is actually looking at how can that intelligence emerge. It's an emergent architecture, and hence it seems complex or vague to some people who don't understand the architecture. But it is like this AI architecture of grokking.
It is not as artificial as it sounds.
Exactly. So this is just to draw a modern parallel, because modern parents understand this language. That's why. Otherwise, it's Shravana, Manana. During the process of Manana, if we question a child, at that point, it will seem as if people will have doubts. Is my child actually doing something? What's going to be the future? But if we just wait for that Nididhyasana to emerge, then they become super intelligent. As I mentioned, the example of a child who is thinking of composing shlokas on Bhagavan Sri Rama, who is his sister Devata, like Sri Valmiki Maharishi. Which, if a child can aspire for this, there is nothing that that child cannot accomplish in life.
Then you as a guru or a teacher just become a facilitator.
For that. An enabler for that genius to emerge.
And in fact, if we look at certain domains, if Ayurveda, for instance, there is a verse from Ashtanga Hridayam. It says, Te vyapinopi hrinnabhyor adhor madhyor samshritaha Vayohoratri bhuktanam tenta madhyadigat kramat. Just 2 lines which you can memorize like 10 times you say, you can memorize that. But then if you have to write this in English, you will have to write 3 pages of explanation because morning the kapha is more, afternoon pitta is more, evening vata is more. When you are young, kapha is more. When you are in middle age, whatever, like that, it goes on.
And you have to reflect on it.
You reflect
So
on it.
imagine if you say rote learning, the English meaning is that 3 pages I am memorizing and writing without understanding. But the 2 verses is also memorization, but that completely opens up a different process in your brain compared to you memorizing rote learning the 3 pages in English and just vomiting it in your exam. So there is also this confusion in the society. I was training a group of teachers. And then this teacher asked me, oh, you're talking about IKS, so are you saying that we have to go back to rote learning? Nowadays, rote learning is looked down upon. Then I asked the teacher, what is pi? The teacher said 3.14. Then I asked her, no, what is pi? She said 22/7. In fact, few days ago, we had pi day as well. And then I said, no, what is pi actually? Then my son was there in the seminar. I asked him to chant a verse in Sanskritam about pi, and then he explained what pi is. Then I humorously asked the teacher, have you rote learned pi or has he rote learned pi? Then she said, no, I don't know what is pi. I only know it's 3.14. Didn't want to corner her in good humor. She also understood the point that I was making. So all of the knowledge is codified in the form of verses, which the children learn. So one differentiating, if at all we want to differentiate from other Gurukulas, is that the focus is on the STEM aspects of IKS, and they learn the scientific body of knowledge through the source verses, and they also develop Pratyaksha Jnana. When we look at the calendar, say today is a particular date, right? It's an abstraction. If you go out, you can't say what is March, you can't say what is that date or that year.
For that matter, even Falguna.
No, you can. When you go to the Indian calendar, if you go
can,
outside,
but because it is linked to your
there is
cycle
something
of,
cosmic thing that is happening over there. Today you can say if it is a particular tithi, if you go out, you know that it is a tithi. So that Pratyaksha Jnana is built very well in the Bharatiya Paddhati compared to all these abstractions that we have. In a way, okay, because if you have to show up for a meeting, you have to tell me the English date. If you tell Vikram Samvatsara, Kali Yuga Sankhya and all that, we don't know when we will turn up for the meeting. Practically, this calendar is useful. But there is also a deeper logic underneath how the Bharatiya calendar is designed. And those are the aspects that we teach in a mathematical.
Shantanu,
Ji.
Guruji was just saying that for 2 reasons, there are 2 interpretations of going to the school.
Mhm.
One for values,
One
one for job.
for job.
There is third aspect. Many schools I have visited, especially after 10th. I generally ask students why you have chosen a particular stream, and their standard response would be, नहीं, इन्होंने बताया था, नहीं, मेरा बड़ा भाई था, नहीं, ये मेरा दोस्त गया. So the general tendency in society is पूरी दुनिया जाती है यार, स्कूल में जाना पड़ता है.
Exactly. पूरी दुनिया जाती है. That's I was about to come to that.
And you are not sending your
Kids to school. Not yet though. Yeah. I think
you want to go into homeschooling, and now you want to be in collaboration with Gurukula and then training people.
Yeah.
So why this?
I explain is I'm sure you know this lady Esther Dhanraj, right? She's a ex-Christian, if I call it, and she became ex-Christian by studying Christianity. So if you hear Rajiv Malhotraji's, she had a long interview. So she studies of 4 years of formal theology in a college in America, and after knowing every bit of it, she said, "Oh my God, this is like I can't follow it." Exactly same happened with me. In my new life, I call it, when I left my corporate life, I started working with education NGOs, working with government schools, working with private schools, working with a lot of educationists, working with NCRT. When I did that for 7-8 years, I was like, oh my God, that's not very good. I didn't have the might and to change it, right? Because I can't change a huge system. And this was largely 2014, before 2014. In 7-8, I changed my job. Then I realized, so I become a so-called ex-schooler, if I can use the word. Because we all went to a school. I went to a KV and then to a UP government school. And then I realized that on various counts, one is the dharmic element, if I can just very crudely call it, and on the knowledge part also. Tell me a child which doesn't go to a coaching institute to crack IIT or to a NEET institute to crack a NEET exam. So even those math, science, English they are not teaching well, then why I'm wasting 10 hours of my child every day? अगर वो भी पढ़ा देते तो चल जाता. Okay, he's studying math science to the T. As she explained about pi, I am being invited to a lot of schools as a guest, so I was watching a class and a very famous school in Delhi. Like I don't want to name it. So she was teaching, I think, World War II, and she was very animated. And these days you have like smart class, so they have a video for everything very smartly, which is very good. And then I asked, like, teacher, you explained so many elements. What if I'm God, or let's say not God, let's say if I'm UN, what element can I change so that the what should not happen? He said, no, वो syllabus में नहीं है. That's not in the syllabus. That was her answer, literally, right? So there was hardly any Vaigyanik Drishtikon in the best of the schools. So what they're teaching, math, science, English, history, that's also they're teaching in a very subliminal way. And anyway, the elements that we discussed till now,
the structured, you have to one size fit all approach.
I go to a classroom and I ask a standard question, what is the volume of the class? They'll say, volume? I don't know. Where is length? So they were looking for length, breadth, height, and they want to multiply it and give you volume. If I say, what is the volume of this room? And these are like best of the brilliant child. I think it starts from there. This is not the place I'm sending my child to. It's not dharmic, and it doesn't also give a scientific inquiry. So if both are missing, then I started inquiring a lot of places. Why my kids are still, my kids are 7 and 13. So I thought they still have time. I landed up in a lot of Gurukuls, met a lot of their team members, met other Gurukuls. Then I realized there are a lot of them. I think they must have inquired even more. There are Veda Party kind of Gurukuls. There are Baba Ramdev kind of, or ISKCON kind of Gurukuls, Swami Narayan kind of Gurukuls, where they have a dharmic element of rigor, not a lot of subjects, and then a CBSE or IB curriculum, but at least a dharmic routine, if I can call it, right? From Dincharya is dharmic, which has a yoga element, a chanting element, a havan element, and then a classroom element. But I found even those kids are far more alert, smart, and engaging in conversations. And then I found their kind of Gurukuls. And I said, oh my God, if the education and the process of learning can be so joyful, and we never talked about कि बच्चा healthy होना चाहिए, right? They will take अच्छा खाना लाओ, eat fruits, but that's very to-dos type of things, right? So I think that's how my engagement came. And in fact, I met a lot of their students, and I was in Coimbatore. You know about the movie Ajay on Yogi Adityanath ji. So we did a screening in Coimbatore, and one of their major institutions, one of the major Gurukulas is 2 hours from Coimbatore in Palani. There all the students came and they sat. There was no space there, so because they were last minute's guests, they all sat in the front part of the theatre. It was a normal PVR theatre. And before the movie, they all did a chanting. The whole theatre, the crowd of all the screens came. So what is happening in the theatre? They did a chanting. And they enjoyed the movie. They were like clapping, whistling, and they were enjoying a Yogi Adityanath movie. And in the next day, there was some literature festival going on. 2 kids came to me and said, solid, sir. What a movie, sir. So it's not that I'll think, अरे ये तो एक पुरोहित टाइप बच्चे होंगे, बोरिंग टाइप के कुछ करते होंगे. They were engaged in a context, and there one of the Gurujis, Agastya Giriji, told me that they had like days and days of conversation on the movie, from the Chanakya angle, from the movie making angle also, from the script angle to a dharmic angle. They analyze the movie for next 2-3 days, and they have a space to do that. They have a freedom in their whatever schedule, dincharya they have. They did that also, and they communicated to me. So, and when they also told that our aim is to make nation builders. It can be very cliched also. Every school can say that, but they have a particular angle to it, that these child should go to IIT. And I think I heard there some of the children landed in IIT already. Correct. After 6-7 years. They can be politicians also. They can be IAS officers also. They can be techies also. With the drishti, if they are part of the samaj, there will be a very different society, I felt. So I think that was my engagement. Disenchantment from the schooling system and love for this system, which is always there. And in this, my inquiry, obviously I read Dharmpalji and said, oh my God, by the time you're 18, you have studying some 100 subjects. Correct. You are a mini Ayurvedacharya. मतलब छोटी-छोटी बीमारी तो आप घर में ठीक कर लेंगे. Exactly. 18-year-old boy. हमारे तो मैंने came from engineering, मुझसे कील ठोकनी नहीं आती थी. My mother used to comment कि टीवी ठीक कर दो. मैंने टीवी, I don't know. हम तो इंजीनियरिंग करके आए थे from a good college. आप किसी IITian को दे दो, IITI का बच्चा is better than me. So इतना सारा पढ़ने के बाद भी यार हाथ से कुछ था ही नहीं. Our hands are can't make a bale of a roti also. So ये mismatch जब दिखा, so I thought let's do something else with our kids. So I don't know where the journey takes.
I have a very,
And you are a father yourself, Prafulji. Maybe you can reflect.
no, I did it for a couple of years for homeschooling. Then I sent them to, hostel and a very
Oh, you did.
typical Vidya Bharati residential school.
Beautiful.
Everything has a, what I just felt was, in the present context, for homeschooling kind of thing, you need to give a lot of time to
Time also, yeah.
So that was one issue with me, which but I have one serious question, because I have been thinking about, of course I have reservation about this entire thing of the concept of IKS itself, because it is the Indian is not Bharatiya and the system is not Parampara. So the term itself, but in the name of IKS, what is being done is also very, very problematic thing. मतलब लोग कहते हैं यार 2 क्रेडिट के लिए शांति पर्व और अर्थशास्त्र डाल दो तो हो गया IKS, बाकी तो फ्रेमवर्क वही है. I have a serious fear where क्या are we just trying to fit in our traditional knowledge system on the Western parameters and calling it IKS, and or the philosophically or perspective wise, the drishti wise, they are entirely different things.
This is a very important question to address. First thing is because
of course you need some reference point to start with.
Yeah.
You cannot be completely entangled with the existing system.
Yeah.
But still I have this fear, somewhere.
Yes, and these have to be addressed systematically. So definitely that's a very valid concern that many people express, because that comes out of a genuine well-wishing, and it also comes out of a certain ideal that they look up to. It's like dharma is, in principle, they look up to it. Practical things come after that. But principle is very important to hold on to. So that ideal, it's not a utopian vision. That is how high a standard Bharat sets. If we look at our Itihasa Purana, our Shastras and so on, it sets a very, very high vision. So it is out of genuine well-wishing and connect and concern that this is expressed. So that way it is really very important to address it. Now, if we look at the modern architecture of education, this kind of an approach, which is most acceptable worldwide, comes in a certain format. And that format, now everyone has gotten used to.
First you fragment the knowledge and then call it, then try to make it interdisciplinary.
Yes. So that's why we call
So
this...
you miss out on the integrated approach.
Yes, sir. So that's why integration seems like a
Distant dream.
It's like a distanced word. There is a cognitive distance to it. वही सही है मगर वो वहां है हम यहाँ हैं. So that distance we need to when we look at it as an ideal, we are looking at that, but now we are distanced from it because we are here. That causes that let's say a genuine we call it in Tamil adangam. That is the true thing. What are we trying here? Because we are not there.
Because I have very, very serious thing, though I am not a student of science, but for example, how can you study chemistry without studying Rasa Shastra? And how can you understand Rasa Shastra without having some understanding of Ayurveda? And if you want to understand the, the percentage and the composition and the, you cannot do that without mathematics. So, the idea of chemistry being an independent discipline, super speciality, and then somewhere calling it, now, patch the body parts and make it a body. for that matter, even social sciences. Most of the economists do not have their grounding in society, in culture, in polity, in the governance issues, in the belief system and the values, and then you talk about economics. Oh, how is that possible?
Yes.
So this, how do you try to address this in your
So that's
your
where
Gurukul?
understanding the current approach to education, if we look at, it is building up, as you rightly said, multiple silos may, there is knowledge. Just let's say, for example, school level starts with science, math, social science, language as separate.
broad for
Then physics, chemistry, math, biology, commerce, this, that. And then comes the undergraduate level education, which is even more this. Then at the top comes PhD, which is philosophy is what integrates all of these. That's why you take any stream of knowledge, the highest degree is PhD. Even in PhD, it's not integration that is actually achieved. Because the fundamental darshana, the drishti,
more
is missing.
fragmentation, in fact.
More fragmentation. But that is the attempt. And hence we talk of reductionism in modern sciences, where it's been highly reduced. So much so that the integrative aspects are not visible. It is just like for intelligence to emerge, you need to tightly integrate. Only then intelligence emerges. Otherwise, you have a tree but not a forest. A forest ecosystem becomes very important, which is integrated, and hence something beautiful emerges out of it. That's why we need to reverse this process, where the Darshana Shastras have to be introduced at the basic level itself, not just at the top level. If we reverse this, then we have hope, where the child develops in an integrated manner. And that's where integration, if we look at it in terms of objective is reductionist, subjective is integrationist. So now, because of secular education, the subjective has been separated from the objective, so that it's acceptable to everybody. We need to bridge this gap or heal this dichotomy. So that's why the subjective aspects in terms of dinacharya, upasana, all these sampradayas, all these also become very important, where the subjective dimensions along with objective knowledge develops. Now, this is a complex framework to accommodate in regular structure of education. So that's why, at least to some extent, if it starts with some credit, where there is otherwise no exposure to any content whatsoever, and hence no vision of what can emerge, because the content also, if we look at the Rishi's content, for example, Ayurveda, if we even introduce it as a credit, but the content will address objective aspects as well as subjective aspects. For example, Dashapapa. You don't do this is stated explicitly. In modern medicine, it might not be stated when we study biology. So it is that objectified. At least our content is not that objectified, where the subjective dimensions are also equally found in good measure in the content itself. So even if we start introducing it as a for credit mechanism in the current structure, still that is much better than not having anything. It is obviously a degradation, but at least something that gradually, as we put in this kind of a subject matter content, gradually
Integrated approach might develop
will emerge out of it, which is right now not visible, and hence the concern. But if we actually work towards it, it might emerge.
Actually, one more aspect to it is that at a certain intellectual level, we look at this as a dilution of the knowledge system when it is offered in the institutions. But at a societal level, when you look at a parent, when you look at a person in the corporate world, they are all excited that whatever they haven't studied is finally actually now available in the institutions. So we even see people who are at the executive level enroll for, say, a 1 credit or a 2 credit certificate course, whatever, helps them to get an institutionalized access to that knowledge system.
You're now doing course, Smriti, at the IIT Delhi level also, which is more in tune with the yogic tradition. What has been the response? How do the kids coming in IITs, actually perceive this course, and Is it just one of the electives, or they really find something fruitful out of it?
So this is a course that like basically he offers for a 1 credit course, and I co-teach that course. And year on year, the number of enrollments for the course has been quite increasing. In fact, this term we had about 120 enrollments. In the past term, we had about 300 enrollments. It
And
was
these
like
are
a
regular
mailer.
BTech students.
BTech to
Wow.
PhD. So there will be diversity of enrollments. One group comes for the scientific aspects, but there is also one group just comes for the stress relief aspect, because we do have integrated yogic practices as part of the course, which helps them to understand their mind in a better manner and also handle their stresses and strains of daily life in a much better manner. And what we do is that at the end of the course, we have an evaluation component, which is more subjective in nature, where they have to talk about whatever they learnt in class, but what was their anubhava of learning those frameworks in the class. And during the class itself, we have a lot of these self-assessment questionnaires, where they tend to understand their own prakriti. They understand whether sattva, rajas, tamas, what is their response in different situations, what is their general stress quotient and all of that. So there is a lot of self-reflection that happens. And when we read the answer sheets, we do see how practically it has helped them to, sail through some of the difficult situations. So life in IIT is not very easy, because it's a very rigorous schedule, it's a rigorous curriculum, and they have to take time to come to this course, because this is at the fag end of the day. After all the subjects have finished, they have to come like 2 hours dedicated for a week. So it's quite challenging, we do understand. But then we have seen that there is a remarkable change after 1 or 2 days, because they start to sync with the course, go through the practices, become more relieved of stress, and that reflects in the subjective answers that they give also.
And that's why this course, if we look at it, it is titled Yoga, Cognition and Well-being. So it brings in neurocognitive sciences in terms of research papers and so on, juxtaposes it with Yoga Ayurveda Shastra or Indian knowledge process, and through these frameworks forms a bridge, which otherwise their only recourse is to a psychotherapist when they are stressed out. Stress, anxiety, depression are very common terms now. They know they are stressed or they are anxious, but the recourse that they have in terms of a solution for their well-being, everyone wants to live well. But what is the structure that is available to them? It is in terms of a therapy session, which has counseling and some maybe medicines. And those might induce lifelong dependency. So those have to be there. But how can we have a beneficial, we have already our knowledge process. How can we integrate that so that there is a full spectrum benefit that is available to the student? The same thing when we talk of the larger process. So this kind of a high-end knowledge is ideal for a Gurukulam system. But we are creditizing it and offering it to stressed out, let's say, people. And yet the hope is that it is in some way, it might be useful for their well-being. So well-being is of value, that everyone lives well. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. That towards that, whatever steps we take is really worth it. And there is a build-up. So gradually it can be in the form of a course. That might lead to a further introduction. That might lead to a lifestyle transformation. That might emerge, towards Bharat, they contributing to Bharat as Vishwaguru. Because they have had the benefit of it. They have suffered something, but they have gained something which then emerges to solve the suffering of the larger population. So that is the hope.
See, for instance, when we ask the class, like how many of you sleep well? Or how many of you have sleep issues? Almost all hands go up. And then they say that they find it very difficult to go to sleep, and the only way they do is they keep scrolling through the reels and shorts and
they get tired,
eventually
they
just
sleep.
fall
Yeah.
asleep.
Oh my God.
So what
And
we do
this
is
at the age, what is the age?
19 years,
18,
19 years when they enter, and it continues like that. But then what we do is that as part of the sleep module, we talk to them about the various sleep cycles in terms of the non-REM sleep, the rapid eye movement, what are the various cycles of sleep that a person goes through, that the scientific part is there. Then we also give some research on how yoga helps the sleep cycle. Not only that, we also put them to sleep in class, which anyway they can
yoga
naturally
nidra
do.
session.
A yoga nidra routine will be there, which basically helps them to deep relax, which they normally can't do when they lie down in the hostel rooms or whatever. Now then, they have gotten a tool to take rest even in the midst of hustle bustle of life. Half an hour you spend daily just following this routine, the sleep cycle improves much better. So that is the approach that we take to the
And that's why they're building that intellectual conviction also. We find it very important, because these are modern students who ride on
The best of
intellectual
the brains.
conviction.
IIT Delhi is the
They-
best of
they,
the
they,
brains.
they need a logical
Correct.
or experiential.
yeah, if
you
we
can't
just say
tell
jab
them
karo,
otherwise.
You can't
jab
tell them
karo
to
stress
try and
chala
make it.
jayega. If we say jab karo stress chala, that,
Chala
that
jayega.
they
We
will
cannot-
trust.
Yeah.
But you have to support it with
Support
other
it.
With intellectual components. That's why directly giving a practice might work, but might not sustain the benefit. Because if they have to
that
approach it,
intellectual conviction.
intellectual
is one.
conviction.
Shantanu,
Ji.
see, you are doing homeschooling for your kids. You are going to regular schools and doing, Ramayana classes and all those things. And even if, all people decide to, have this kind of approach, practically it is not possible at this stage at least. We don't have that kind of bandwidth. We don't have those many acharyas. We don't have those many gurukulas. But still, people are definitely not happy with the existing education system as you or me as a parent would have been. So what can they do to combine the benefits of both while sending the schools, kids to the regular schools and still having some kind of dharmic foundation at their home through basic samskaras of with holistic approach, the well-being, the values that we want to nurture?
I think first, from last 7-8 years, I have seen that when schools call me, they used to call me earlier for a motivation session, they used to call it. Now they explicitly call it Ramayana. So I don't know, maybe from the political environment, they writing the session on Ramayana has become normal for them, which was not normal 7-8 years back. This looks very bizarre to me now, and like positively bizarre. So now they take my books and say Ramayana for entrepreneurs. So that's one. And when I start my session in a school, I'll say I'm a inappropriate guest for a school because I homeschool my kids. So I said, no, halwai khud mithai nahi khata hai and offering it. So I may not be a very good guest for the school. Then I started, right? So first that now schools are also receptive. So much so there is a school which wants a consultation from them, it seems. A big school. And they have, with their chains, they have almost 1 lakh kids with them. They want to put a 2 class per week course on Indian knowledge system. They're calling it something else and want to take it exam assessment for the same. Similarly, various other schools are adding this, right? But now their exercises or sports period have turned to yoga period, and a formal yoga acharya trained from a Baba Ramdev or some institution formally. So that's happening, and that's this push is coming from parents themselves, and parents are only coming with a lakshana कि बच्चा depressed रहता है, बच्चों को mobile कैसे छुड़ाएं, and a lot of schools are resorting to this. And some such framework, and in fact that will be my question to them, because I know they do a 15-day training to a lot of schools also on IKS. What can a normal school, as Prafulla rightly said, all the schools tomorrow will not convert into a
Correct.
Gurukula Paddhati, right? So can they add 1 period, 2 period regularly? Some schools are ready to do that. 2 periods a week, which is a decent time, at least 2 hours, and assessment added to that. That's, I think, can be a very good start. And also my second question to them only, in a typical Gurukula, a Veda Party Gurukula or your kind of STEM Gurukula, if I can call it, what will the kids do? Like, what is their, see, again a modern frame, career path, which I don't want to say, but a parent will want to hear, what will he or she will do in life? So what does a regular school can do? Without dismantling the whole school thing, and what a kid in your kind of parampara school, what will he or she will do
Opportunities in life.
Yes. So to just set the context for this, for a regular parent, and they sent to a school, and the school wishes to integrate IKS, one of the questions that they get is, if I just introduce 1 day a week, 1 period a week, will it be effective enough? So that's where what most people expect is a behavioral transformation. Okay, you give this content, the behavior will change. From next day onwards, they will not, they will stop scrolling. That's why understanding this becomes very useful, because that is ideal. That is important. So, but a behavioral transformation has other components to it. What we have practically realized that one day a week or two periods a week still is very, very effective. Because a behavioral transformation happens, it is like you plant a coconut seed, it is growing within, but for the shoot to, the sapling to come out, it may take months. That's how a behavioral transformation, we are investing in the behavioral transformation of the future by introducing this IKS content now. This will gradually take shape. That's why the sensitization that we do to the, one is the management team of the school, also to the teachers that deliver it.
I think your team did something with the Navodaya Vidyalaya chain. Which is
Yes.
like they have a government to level type.
Yes. So that's why when the teachers are sensitized, they are aware of, okay, this is the process that is happening. It's like for a child that is trying to walk. Initially, it does not succeed, but it tries, and suddenly at one point, it's able to walk. That is the thing that can be expected out of introducing IKS curriculum in schools. It will work because the content is our Rishi's content. It's superlative. For example, one of the outcomes of introducing Ayurvedic knowledge in school is self-regulation of health.
For self-regulation, right? Which otherwise you can't tell chocolate mat khao, ye mat khao, wo mat khao.
Preventive, they automatically go into the...
So,
Preventive
we are
health.
feeding the intelligence, giving them frameworks by which they can self-regulate. That means the decision is well-informed. Otherwise, it's more in terms of nutrition, imposition, rules, conflict.
And
with
how much
parents,
can you say don't eat? If you say
Don't
don't
do
eat
that.
You will
chocolate,
become a devil.
then you
Yeah.
have to say don't eat pizza, don't eat this. You can make a big list of
And
don't
the current frameworks that are available as part of health advice or nutrition or biology and so on don't empower them in self-regulated behavior. So, and hence it has to be imposed or advised, which both are, they may develop resistance to it as teenagers, especially. Before teenage, at least they might accept. After teenage, they might not. So they might resist it.
On
Unless
the,
we
on the
appeal to it.
behavior thing, I have noticed this is a personal experience. So I take Abhiram, that's my elder, he's my son, to a lot of residential camps, to sometime ashramas, sometimes schools, and so there's no mobile anyways, right? And they eat very nicely typical Indian food which they resist in a house. And there's a lot of sunlight, there's a lot of nature. I normally take to Himachal or Uttarakhand or somewhere in Maharashtra, and they are barefoot most of the time. And I've seen after those 10 days, he's a different child altogether.
Correct.
Just in 10 days,
Correct.
just
Exactly.
got good food, sunlight and nature and barefoot. And they're all happy. I've never seen, and they're all kids are coming from typical background, all pizza eating kids. When they join, 30 of them, all middle class, rich kids, when they join for 10 days, and I've shared this with other parents also, they are different kids at least for 2-3 months.
Yeah.
So if you live, so I don't know what is sunlight which we normally underrate. Delhi mein to humko sunlight aata hi nahi hai with this Kora coming so much. So ye kya hai? I don't know what it. Maybe it's the Annamay coach that you talked about, which I've noticed personally, and I get magically surprised every time. Oh, he's a different child. Why he's so sweet all of a sudden for 10
That's
days?
why I say, Sunday is a holiday is the most nonsensical concept
Correct,
correct.
one can have.
Yeah.
Because for us, it always used to be the day of, energy. So doing more things on Sunday is more logical for us.
Absolutely.
So this
See,
I've seen
and,
being in my
this
mind.
is very good observation because we have seen it en masse.
Hmm.
And it is also related with what is called Prana Shakti.
And in those camps, Shrimanji, there is no some extra input of this Bharatiya Gyan.
No.
Sunlight, good food, nature. That's all.
The Dinacharya
Exactly.
itself takes
Nature
place.
itself does
Magic.
magic, literally magic. I am
And,
not even exaggerating a word.
So that's why this is linked to prana. A high prana leads to good intelligence shining forth. And that prana, if we decode it in modern terms, good nutrition is a chemical source of mitochondrial energy. So mitochondria is the power source of the cell.
Bad brain inside.
Yeah.
Then
So, but there are other components to it. For example, photonic sources of energy, electronic sources of energy. That's why Panchabhuta become very important source of prana shakti for the child, which is now in a typical urban environment, the child is denied. And hence, we cannot blame the child for behavioral
so again, this
dysfunction
can be
and so
only
on.
tips. Somehow make sure your child goes to these camps or apne ghar mein he does very as close to nature he can be for 2-3 hours a day, or at least couple of hours a week.
Yes.
That will change the child. I have
And
realized.
also visit to the Goshala, any
Goshalas,
Goshala nearby.
Goshala.
That teaches a child so much about other
And
beings
if they can do a
and nature.
seva, oh my,
Absolutely.
amazing.
Much
Yeah.
For half an hour, 1 hour in a
And
Goshala,
this
in a
camp
desi gaur.
thing, what happens is that Upamana based learning happens where there is a comparison. In the home, there is no way to tell the child how your life will be without gadget addiction. But when you go to the camp and come back, you are already comparing. There I was there 10 days happy, never missed the phone. But here I am scrolling through it. So you can have a comparative analysis only when you have a period of withdrawal from the
And that is
regular
more kind of, the unconscious conscious level.
Unconscious
Correct,
consciousness.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you are unconsciously comparing it while being there.
While
yeah.
And then suddenly after going back, you become conscious about it. Oh,
Yeah.
I was more energetic. I was, better.
Digestion was
person
happening
there.
there,
Better,
whatever.
yeah.
You know.
And
This
hence,
is also what she said, digestioning, because modern kids has a problem with digestion. They
Yeah.
don't go to loo every day
Yeah.
also.
yeah,
And there
Or
two
they have
times-
IBS.
Yes, sir.
IBS. Otherwise, it's the opposite. They're
Yeah.
too much
irritable
spicy
bowel.
and
Yeah.
they have irritable bowel.
Yeah.
So
and there's
that's-
also one syndrome of
that's
those
why
camps.
to support this from a child's perspective, it becomes important to introduce knowledge frameworks. Because otherwise it is upamana. When agama is introduced, then it becomes integrated very soon. Which otherwise they don't know what to hold on to because they don't have the drishti of, okay,
What worked? What
What
exactly
worked?
worked? Yeah.
it's all over the place, so
Yeah.
they don't know what to exactly hold on to. That's where principles of yoga, Ayurveda, in terms of the frameworks, give them the right drishti as to what has worked, and hence I will hold on to this lifelong. So that's the role. Then this way we come to the next part of the question, which leads us to the career.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
the career
yeah.
pathway that is available? One of the key things of a career, if we decode practically,
He's
is
earning good money.
it's about money.
He's earning good money. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
earning good money. But where does the money go if we trace it practically in a modern household? One is going towards health, health insurance and so on. The idea is to live well. Okay, so the insurance investment is in terms of living well. The second, it's going towards education. Okay. The third is going towards EMI or rent and so on. Okay. All of this with the idea of living well. That's why now idea of living well is translated to earning good money. And earning good money is translated to what is called good education. An education which will give a career propulsion. Okay. This is the broad idea. If we look at it from a broad perspective. If we, and hence with this perspective, if we come to career, a child in the Gurukula or IKS is getting empowered in terms of health. And hence that is also adding to the insurance.
Insurance.
It is actually valued.
Yeah.
No, so insurance is not just monetary. It's actual insurance because the child is being insured against future prospects of ill health, which will add to the quality of life tremendously. So it is a huge value add. The second aspect, they are learning how to interoperate with everybody, live well with everybody, seva bhava. The ego cannot flare up too much because they have to live in a community where they have to give and take. That is insurance against future, let's say, family level harmony.
Or even organizational.
Organizational harmony. So all these are very important for their career prospects, which are what interviewers evaluate. When an interviewer evaluates, the initial part is what the subjects are. This. After that, any interviewer will look for organizational team skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills. Also, are they available? So productivity. And productivity depends on health. A direct loss of productivity is now visible because people are unhealthy. They are forever sick. So the third aspect that they look for is a capability to execute. So event management or initiative or ownership, at the same time capability to listen to others. All these the Gurukula child is invested in, which is natural or inherent in the Gurukula lifestyle itself, the Dinacharya. This is why it's called Dinacharya. So this is building up a very good career profile for a bright
But I
career.
was still missing, like, are these skills mapped to the skills needed in a AI world?
Yeah, on a
right?
practical
Yes,
note, if you
that
see,
part.
yeah,
See, all surroundings sounding amazingly
Yeah.
good,
Yeah,
but
yes.
they're literally the knowledge, the skills which is
Correct.
needed in a office.
So now, if we look
A
at
typical parent, Shantanu.
Yeah.
a typical,
I'm asking from a
we
typical
appreciate it.
parent point of view, right?
Because otherwise, this could not have been elicited from us. Because we assume it, we are too much steeped into
No,
it.
I just because we are talking about the parenting part. My son was doing his Sanskrit honors.
Yeah.
So somebody, I just spoke to, and then, what is your son doing? So he's doing his BA in Sanskrit. Oh, क्या करेगा?
हाँ क्या करेगा?
So,
And then they almost sympathize with you as if कि कहीं नहीं हुआ इसलिए यहाँ चला गया होगा. I've seen, oh अच्छा, as if कि poor
correct,
child.
correct. Very
पुरोहित बनाना है क्या?
पुरोहित बनाना
हाँ.
है क्या? Exactly.
And then suddenly, अच्छा कहाँ पढ़ता है? अच्छा, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी सेंट स्टीफेंस. Oh, St. Stephen's में पढ़ता है.
Said Steven will be.
Now see the
हाँ,
the
एकदम से
same
ठीक हो गया
kid,
फिर
the
वो.
same course,
Yeah.
but that's why I said it's a typical parent
Yeah,
question.
exactly.
ये करके करेगा क्या?
करेगा क्या? Exactly.
Yeah. That's why investing in building an appropriate narrative becomes very important. That's why in an AI world, AI age, AI is in. And the future is also AI plus robotics.
Yeah.
That
From
means-
Adi Anaadi to AI.
Yes. So in an AI robotic world, they will need to be problem solvers because they need to see the unseen. Because AI will, show what is visible.
Yeah.
And that can do all the number crunching much better than any individual can
Even
do.
coding now.
Even coding.
Yeah.
So you have math, physics, chemistry, biology. The AI can do much better.
Much better.
Commerce, the AI can do much better. Then what is a human role?
Like even stock market prediction,
Yeah,
it's
my God.
doing
They're doing
like
far more
yeah,
better than
better than
Yeah.
Then we will have to look at the big picture of what will emerge.
That's a smart.
That's where going back to our Bharatiya Drishti becomes very helpful because in Bharat, food, education and healthcare was accessible to everybody free of cost. That we will have to ensure for everybody. So that in an AI reality, in a robotics reality, a person need not depend on these basic needs should not need to depend on a source of income. This should be accessible to everybody. Then the person is allowed to blossom because AI takes away the mundane aspects of life more and more. But then the person will be able to blossom in so many diverse ways, which now seems unenvisionable. We cannot even envision or think about it. That's why a practical skills for an AI world, what would they be? For example, the capability to interact with an intelligent person all the time. AI is intelligent,
Yeah.
which has big data sets. And hence it is like interacting with intelligent person all the time. That will develop their cognitive skill set, cognitive intelligence, capability to think integrated because AI is integrated. It's not in silos. It's not like a human teacher. Why AI can be integrated from ground up, especially with the Bharatiya Drishti. We can create based on Bharatiya Drishti. Already work is on to do that. So when a child, if we were to envision a future prospects or future career of a child, this is the challenge that parents face because they might not be so, well informed with respect to all the developments that the country is going through or
So
the
they
world is going through.
they might still have this question like, will my child be able to do the 15 tables if they study in a Gurukula, or understand how to use a pipette and burette if they go to a Gurukula? So the mapping is in terms of the very regular skills that has been there for time immemorial. So that is where what we do at Anaadi is, of course, the children take up the open schooling exam, which helps them to basically as a formal certificate anyway that they get, and they can aspire for any higher education through that. But then whatever we teach at the Gurukula is also at the intersection of ancient and modern sciences. For example, in a year, 3 or 4 days, they spend time in IITs, in the IKS departments, or in NIMHANS, or in Ayurveda shalas.
Even watch movies.
We watch movies as well. Litfest,
Litfest.
participate in
Dharmic
Litfest.
movies,
Dharmic
which
movies,
inspire.
exactly.
Yeah. So that way, what happens is that they get a 360-degree view of what the world is and where is going, even if it's the recent conflict that is going. So they
Yeah,
are updated
awareness.
about that, and then they see how what they do as part of the sustainability in terms of, say, not using LPG but using cow dung based fuel. As
Coming.
that yeah, already we are in that, as adding to the national vision of Atmanirbharta. So that way they don't feel they are not there in some isolated, okay, on the map you might find it difficult to find us, but they've already put themselves on the global map by integrating with whatever is happening
So that
globally.
vision is united with 2047 Viksit Bharat.
Yeah.
And that vision, they will find a way to achieve or contribute to that vision.
And if we tell now the child, guide the child that, say, for example, physics or a scientist is where might be useful, or say semiconductors are where we are heading. So a child who's probably graduating now will be happy to take that as a profession because it contributes to the national, larger agenda of where we are progressing. Or if somebody, international relations, now every day we speak about international relations. So that could be a pathway that could inspire the child, looking at how, shastrically we can inspire, say, global relations. So all that becomes a pathway, inspiring pathway.
So when we talk of pathways, we clearly recognize now if we look at any career profile, including, for example, media or let's say civil services or even corporate jobs, what is expected is an integrated view and a leadership, that they can bring onto the table. For example, civil services. If they aspire for civil services, it's not a bookish view on the ground. On the ground, it's problem solving, connecting with the vision of the nation. If this is integrated into school education, that is the best pathway that leads to a very bright career for them, whatever they choose to do. This is very, very fundamental building block because we are creating leaders from the beginning who will have a vision of contributing to Bharat, choosing any career pathway to do that. But actually their vision will be united in one, and yet they will be firm in their swadharma. I think that is the right narrative for the parents to cultivate, because then they give that necessary freedom to their children, that ownership, that context where they can thrive, because the future is that flourishing, that thriving. That is the Bharatiya Drishti.
And when parents ask, we also talk about things like, for example, computer science. Now with all of this AI, and every week there is an update to things. So even parents, the way they are working, they are unsure of their own jobs
Exactly.
right now. So they clearly, a software profession is not now pressurizing their child to computer science, learn programming when you are 3 years old, or in the womb you learn programming. That thing has sort of changed now. But then even if you want your child to become a farmer, for example, like a lot of people, urban farming and all of that. But the way global relationships are going, what will be valid produce at that time will be very different. So if I think today coconut has a market, tomorrow it may or may not have a market. So fundamentally, I'll be looking at what are the skills that are required
General
in order
skills.
to. So I could even be a tech entrepreneur farmer, right? Where my smart farming, that could be, instead of actually working with the soil, I might be a smart farmer. So only we can go to the foundational definitions and not all the expressions of these job profiles, because it's a constantly evolving situation, more so in this era.
Competent rather than KRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have basic competencies, then that is. But on the basis of this, this is also, emotionally and intellectually very interesting subject for me. So that's why we can keep talking on this. But coming to last part of this conversation, where do you see this trajectory? What are the future plans? How far Gurukula vision? I'm not saying Gurukula revival or Gurukula institution. Gurukula vision is the way forward for Atmanirbhar or Vikasit Bharat that you talked about.
Yes. So the fundamental vision is well-being of the Loka. And for that, concrete pathways guided by Bharatiya Drishti. That is the Gurukula vision. And hence, when we look at the vision, how do we navigate to a Bharat which is already strong, growing, and include as many young people as possible in that vision, contributing to that vision? And that's why the Gurukula pathway becomes very, very important to focus on. So at a Anaadi Foundation level, we are focusing on institutionalizing in more places, expanding it, expanding the scope also by establishing it in Southeast Asia, in Europe, and so on. So that not just in Bharat, the Bharatiya Drishti for Bharatiya everywhere gets strengthened through this Gurukula pathway, where with a systematic introduction of the knowledge coexisting and sometimes co-evolving with modern knowledge. So the modern knowledge is not kept away. So it is integrating with modern knowledge to proceed further in terms of contributing to a world which is peaceful, which has all these good gunas and lakshanas that Bharat stands for. So practically what we are investing in right now is more institutions along the lines of Bala Gurukulams, non-residential Gurukulams and residential Gurukulams. Also supporting schools and institutions who are interested in integrating it in whatever format they wish to. Creating a grassroots level acceptance to the Bharatiya Jnana, where more and more people see this as a valid pathway. Just as now people see modern education as a valid pathway. More and more people see this as a valid pathway, career pathway, a pathway to living well in all sense, including dharma, artha, kama, and also it's a liberating sense. So that way it's a lot of groundwork that has already happened. A lot of things are not discontinuous. It is like the flow of Ma Ganga, shrinks during a certain season, it expands during a certain season. That's how there has always been this continuous flow. And now we feel there's a period of expansion because Bharat has gained the goodwill of everybody around the world. And we have shown leadership, guiding the world towards pathways of dialogue, of communication, of harmony, of peace, and yet being strong. And this is what we envision starting from childhood. How do we integrate a child into this vision so that they will be Bharatiya in the true sense and contribute to dharma, contributing to Bharat's emergence as a world leader. Guiding, it is just like Bhagavan Krishna empowered Yudhishthira to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. So, to establish oneself as a superpower. Bharat being a superpower will actually, augur well for the world because we stand for those rigorous values that are very important in this world, which is filled with chaos and violence and so on. And that every Bharatiya, every child should be empowered to sign up for this vision willingly. And that is the Gurukula Paddhati or Gurukula pathway. Not discrediting or not dissociating with modern progress, but integrating with modernity to take it forward. Because not all problems have been solved. So they should be problem solvers for Bharat and take it forward for the benefit of the world.
And you have added a number to it also, I think.
Yes. So this is more like a Guru Agnya that we are looking at 108 institutions in the coming couple of years.
And how much, where we are currently?
Right now we are looking at about 16 to 18 this year.
Already here.
Yeah. This year.
This year will start. Okay.
Yeah. And also if we consider the nation to be a chariot and the wheels to be the citizens, if just one wheel is progressing forward and all the three wheels are progressing backward, then there is no way the country can progress, right? So if three wheels are progressing forward, one is still backward, we can still...
Again, citizen is a very problematic term.
So if the Bharatiya Drishti is not infused into the citizens, the Gurukula child will anyway be empowered. So if there is a call from the top, serve the nation, the Gurukula children
because
are the ones who will...
They will not be citizens, they will be Rashtranga.
Exactly. They will be the ones who will wholeheartedly participate.
Citizens live in city.
Exactly.
So you have to destroy villages to be a citizen.
Correct. So they will be the ones who will wholeheartedly support this. But then if the chariot has to move forward, more of these wheels need to get moving. And that is where we see IKS, Gurukula Paddhati, whatever knowledge, heritage knowledge, all this has to be infused in the society. So the participation is much better.
And we need to have more parents.
Parents who are,
who are courageous enough to
Courageous enough.
do some
no,
experimentation.
So I wanted this talk to happen for me to further get convinced. So I think thank you for that.
Insurance and assurance.
Yeah. Otherwise, getting this much time from them is difficult. So I thought, let me use the
No, it's not
podcast
that
to-
bad.
They are busy people, which is good. Yeah.
It's also, as you rightly said, it's also a certain courage. We really appreciate parents who are courageous. It is like this independence movement or freedom movement, where not everyone saw a freedom emerging. It was not visible at that time. Only a few daring people actually dreamed of freedom.
No, they started schools, they started talking about Swadeshi,
Swadeshi.
and not just about political independence, but the holistic.
Correct.
There was a
larger,
political joke also then
the-
I want Bhagat Singh, but from neighbor's house.
And that is true even now.
Even now.
Everybody is comfortable with the Swami in Vivekananda in the neighborhood.
Neighbor house,
Not
yeah.
in the home.
Yeah.
But that, with all of our concerted effort, we will change. There is a very strong conviction that we have. And that is the
Changing. There are
Bharatiya
many people who are experimenting now.
Absolutely.
Yes. And all these augur well for the nation.
Yeah.
And for Bharatiyata to work deeper for greater human well-being.
Beautiful.
So thank you very much for sparing time, and hope to continue this conversation with different dimensions of the dharmic education system and infusing it with the contemporary, because we anyway do not believe in revolution. We are always evolutionary, the Bharatiya approach. So decolonization will anyway and is taking place, but how to renationalize is the real challenge. And then I'm really grateful and thankful that people with background like you, coming from computer science background, living in the American society with full of prosperity, coming back and giving back to the nation. So really grateful and thankful for this effort, and my best wishes on behalf of Organiser to the Anaadi Foundation, the Dharma, Swadharma and Bala Gurukulam projects in coming days. And we hope that through Organiser we will be able to reach out to many more people and to inspire them to take up this kind of thing. And Shantanu, as usual, thank you for facilitating this, and again being a courageous parent. So I hope many parents will take inspiration from you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Namaste. And
Thank you.
Beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Nice to have.
So, friends, this was Anaadi Foundation. A very, very different kind of conversation we had. And when people are talking about, many dimensions of decolonizing our education system, getting rid of Macaulay education system, and next 10 years or 22 years of challenge, here is one model where they are actually providing not an alternative, but the real Bharatiya mainstream. And that Bharatiya mainstream has been Anaadi. So it's very appropriate name. So we hope that you like the conversation, you take inspiration, and do watch, do subscribe, share with your family and friends this conversation. Support Organiser, be voice of the nation. Thank you very much for watching, and namaste.